Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Jessica Smith and I help you simplify home education so you can work wonders in your home. This video is a part of a series called From My Bookshelves, where I show you the books that we have read that are on our bookshelves, our favorites that we read from the year. Now, some of them are going to be from the library, some of them might be on archive.org, and those ones I put the full list in a blog post, which I'll put the link in the description box so you can find that. Right now, I'm just going to show you the books that I own that are on my bookshelves that we read and that we loved. So one of the special studies for nature study that we did this year was trees. We learned about trees in general, and then we studied individual species. So we really loved this study, and we read a lot of really cool books. The first that is more of a teacher's manual or a teacher's reference, should say, is the Handbook of Nature Study by Anna Comstock. I like to read this one beforehand so I have more knowledge about the subject. She keeps it very concise. She also has beautiful poetry to go with each subject or each species almost. And I really enjoy using this as a reference for myself as well as questions for our object lessons. Now, object lessons are simply looking at the object, either in nature or bringing it inside, and then you asking the children open-ended questions or questions to direct their attention and observation of that subject, to notice things that they maybe wouldn't have noticed, to direct their attention, and they are great questions. So I use the Handbook of Nature Study a lot when I'm doing nature study for myself, and you could also have your older students read it as well. Now, we do nature study it as a family. We study the same topics and we read a lot of the same books. I do have my older children read a little bit more advanced books so that they can learn a little bit more and get more in-depth knowledge about the subject. But we do study the same thing as a family. So here are some books that I liked for my younger son, who is 6. We read The Tree Lady. This one's a really good book about the woman who started the park in San Diego, Balboa Park. She planted all the trees there. She loved trees, and this was really inspiring, I think, for younger kids to see that people love trees. They form relationships with them, and they love all the different kinds. So this was a really cool book. The Hole in the Tree. This is a fun book, and I got this at a library sale for 25 cents. It might be harder to find, but I know it's on archive.org. You can read it digitally. This is just so cute, and it's by Jean Craighead George, who's one of my favorite authors, and it follows 2 children who go to their apple tree, and they notice that a hole had been bored by a beetle, and then that hole gets bigger and bigger as more and more animals, bigger animals, different animals, make homes in it. So it goes from a very tiny hole by a beetle all the way up to a raccoon, and it talks about the animals that make trees their homes. The kind of spine, I would say, that we used was Can You Hear the Trees Talking? This is a wonderful book. Now, I read The Hidden Life of Trees. I think it's really important as moms to be reading the same subjects or reading about the same subjects as our children so we can have intelligent, meaningful conversations with them. It also gives me some structure in my own growth and my own education. So I read The Hidden Life of Trees, very fascinating, but I love how he's taken all of that information and made it palatable and living for younger kids. Now, I say younger, but my 10-year-old really enjoyed this book as well, and their narrations were great. They would tell people about it. They told their dad, which I think is the mark of a true living book when children want to go tell other people about the knowledge they've gained. Now, it looks a little textbooky, but it's not. It does have some interesting facts here and there, but it feels like a conversation between this forest ranger or forestry manager. Forget what he is in Germany, but he works in the forest, and he has such a relationship with trees, and he's telling you about this and what he's learned. And I love that the information is all current information that we have about trees, things that we didn't know even 25, 30 years ago. Now we read the Can You Hear the Trees Talking as our spine on Wednesdays. And then on Fridays, we read about a specific tree species that's native to our area so that we could go and do an object lesson or at least look at it on our nature walk that Friday afternoon. So the tree book for kids and their grown-ups, this one is awesome with lots of trees that are native to the United States. It doesn't have all of them, and it doesn't have as many as the book I'm about to show you, but it does have a good variety, and it is really living. It talks about trees in general, and some of it's okay. That's the beginning part, but I just feel like the Can You Hear the Trees Talking does a better job at teaching kids about trees in general. So let's see. On Fridays in the morning, we would read about a tree. And the other day, we read about the flowering dogwood. And here it has the tree shape, what it looks like. And then it has the leaves, the blossoms, the fruit, the seeds, and just shows what that looks like. And they're beautiful illustrations as well. And then it just has a short 1 to 2 paragraphs about the tree, which I like. And it talks about what it's used for. For example, it says dogwood is heavy, hard, and tough. It's used for tool handles and golf club heads. American Indians used the bark and roots to make medicine to treat a sickness called malaria. They made red dye from the roots. If you pound the ends of a tiny dogwood branchlet, you can make a sort of toothbrush. It's even supposed to make your teeth look whiter. Now, my boys obviously immediately went out and got a branchlet from our neighbor's dogwood tree and pounded it to make a toothbrush. So this is a fun book to read before you go out and do an object lesson about a tree. Now, this is another book that we've used, and I don't feel like you need to buy it, honestly. I feel like it just talks about tree blossoms, which the tree book does, and then this next book that I'm going to talk about also does. So if you want to read more about tree blossoms as your special study unit in the spring and summer, this is a great one to get on archive.org, but I wouldn't recommend buying it used. Sometimes it can be expensive, and I don't think you need it because the other books are a good, they cover blossoms really well. So that brings me to Trees That Every Child Should Know. I love this book almost as much as Can You Hear the Trees Talking. This book really helps children form a relationship with trees. So it follows trees through the seasons. So there's autumn studies, and you study trees that are producing nuts, like oaks and shagbark hickories and walnuts. And then it goes into winter, and it talks about how we can know trees by their bark, their shapes, and their thorns. And then it dives into a study of all the different types of pines and evergreens and conifers. Let's see. So you can see it here. There's a lot, and it's all of them that are native to the United States, and I think North America as well. So then it goes into spring, and it talks more about trees that you'll notice blossoming in the spring. So obviously you can study these tree species any time of year, but she tries to divide it by the trees that are going to be the most eventful at that time of the season. So I would have my older son read about these trees on Friday morning, and then my younger ones would read from the tree book. And you could have your Form 1 read from the Trees Every Child Should Know. You can use them both because I feel like there was some information in the tree book that wasn't in Trees Every Child Should Know. You can use them both, and they work really well together. But I feel like Trees Every Child Should Know had a lot longer sentences and richer vocabulary that was a little harder for my younger kids to understand. So that is what I have for trees. If you're interested in how I use these books to make a custom curriculum for my family, I offer curriculum guides on my website. They're only $15. They include all the book lists for all the subjects and the book list that I'm talking to you about now. They're all in one place, and it's more of a template style where you can take those books and plug them in to make a curriculum for your family based on your interests and the flora and fauna in your area. And both of those links will be in the description box below. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever a new video comes out.